A blessed Wednesday evening, the 7th day of May, 2025. Welcome to the 13th installment of Money and Your Life on ZDK Liberty Radio 97.1 FM. This evening, our scripture reading comes from Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. Colossians 3, verse 23. And it reads, "Whatever you do, do it from the heart, as for the Lord, and not for men." Let's read that again. Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, do it from the heart, as for the Lord, and not for men. So we go straight into the mission of Personal Financial Solutions, is to empower every citizen and resident of Antigua and Barbuda with financial knowledge and skills to make informed decisions and achieve their financial goals, thus creating a financially literate and wealthy nation. So this evening, we are going to answer some of the voices and individuals who have met me after our last program and have asked that I look at business structures in Antigua and Barbuda, because some are still in school, some are out there, some persons are employed, some persons are thinking about what I said when it comes to the second greatest organism that God has created, the business. So they want to know a little bit more. I must also say that our program here, as we often say in the past, that it's about promoting financial literacy, is about education. Now, if you want personal financial advice, business advice, economic advice, accounting advice, any type of advice as far as finance, money, business, accounting, economics is concerned, then you'll have to come and see us so we know your individual situation, so we can deal with you on that level. So we want to tell you about business tonight, because some persons want to ensure that they become entrepreneurs and make business, that great asset called business, a part of their holding. So what is a business? And sometimes persons out there may say, look, I know this, I know that. What I have realized in my many years on this earth is that there's always persons who can learn something new. So if you have certain knowledge, fine, but always remember, there are persons who are seeking the knowledge that you have. So we are sharing with all persons in Antigua and Barbuda this evening. Let me say before we get into the meat and the thrust of our program that you can reach us at 462-1100 telephone, or you could send us a WhatsApp at 776-8589. So we are going to speak about business this evening. So what is a business? Well, a business is an organization, is an organism that is engaged in economic activity, be it industrial, be it commercial, be it professional activities. All of those activities will comprise a business. A business is usually for profit, But you could have business organizations which are also not for profit. We call them non-profit organizations. So they will operate to provide charity, maybe on a mission or some social cause. But the business for profit, the fundamental aim and goal of a business is to make profit, to generate revenue. In the generation of revenue, you will have expenses, so you pay those expenses, but at the end of the day, you want to provide goods and services to customers for profit. I will tell you, if you're going into business and you don't have the heart to ask for your pay, you don't have the heart to ask your mother, your brother, your sister, your father, your uncle, and your cousin to pay for the goods or services that you are providing, please, you're going to throw away your money. Remember last time we spoke about the investment. You have some money to invest and you're looking for returns. You have 10,000, you have 20,000, whatever you have. And I will always caution that if that's the only amount you have, then you should invest part of it. You always want to make sure you have something for emergency. So let's say you have 10,000 that you can invest. Well, a business is an ideal organism to invest in. So you might be asking yourself, what type of business structure I should invest my money and create? Well, I am going to tailor the discussion this evening to what obtains in Antigua and Barbuda. Fundamentally, we have three types of business structures that you can choose from to create and to have your economic activity operating your business. You could, and here's where most persons start, as a sole trader, or also called a sole proprietorship. This usually I say, is what we term in Antigua an unincorporated business. But we'll discuss that when we discuss corporated businesses. So what is a sole proprietorship or a sole trader type business? It's a business controlled and owned by a single individual. Usually, to start such a business, there is no big legal wrangling to start the business. Also, there is no legal distinction between you, the owner, and the business. No legal distinction. But last week, you remember when we were with the young entrepreneur, Mr. Cordell Luke of El Mayor Econ Services, we mentioned an accounting concept called the business entity concept. We're going to discuss that a little further for you so you have an understanding of what's happening there. So in the sole proprietorship, you, the owner, will get all of the profits, and you, the owner, will be responsible for all of the expenses and all of the liabilities of the business, all of the debts of the business. So what are some of the advantages and disadvantages if you want to choose this business structure called a sole proprietorship or a sole trader? Well, it is very easy to start. It is very inexpensive to set up. And you, as I said, you have very minimal legal fees and startup costs. So this type of business is an easy startup business. Basically, to set it up in Antigua, you may go to the intellectual property department, and then you will pay the fees to ensure that you alone have your business name. You get your business name registered. It's about $110, and you're ready to go, right? So that's the first step. And I always tell persons to do what is right? Register your business name so you don't have any conflict and so forth down the road. So the simplicity of getting it is a big advantage. Another big advantage of the sole proprietorship type business or the sole trader is that you're the owner. You have tremendous control. You have control over all of the decisions. You have authority over the business because it's your business, right? Usually you may be the only person in the business, but if you have employees in the business, you have absolute control. I indicated to you that in Antigua and Barbuda, a lot of sole proprietorship, sole traders, they fall under the umbrella of the unincorporated type business. Remember, this distinction was made clear in the unincorporated business law that came on the scene in 2016. If you remember, in 2016, the then government did away with the personal income tax, and they brought in the unincorporated business tax, so that business persons who operate unincorporated businesses, then they will be taxed under the unincorporated business law. So that is very important, because at another program, we're going to look and see which, so far as taxation is concerned, I'm just going to give an idea of the rates this evening, but we're going to get into a discussion as to whether a sole proprietorship is better than a corporation or company and a partnership. That discussion we'll have at another time, where we'll dig deep so far as the advantages and disadvantages are concerned. This evening, we're just going to lay them out for you, right? Because persons out there, business person will come to me and say, Stuart, I am a sole proprietor. What do you think? Should I move to a company, right? And they only look at one issue when it comes to that movement. But I try to put on the table all of the issues for consideration. But let's continue insofar as you setting up a business as a sole trader, a sole proprietor. Well, we look at some of the advantages, and when it comes to the taxes, maybe I could indicate to you, for the sole proprietorship, a sole trader, if your net profit is 42,000 and below, well, you pay zero tax. Your rate is zero. You pay basically no tax if you make revenue of 42, not revenue, but net profit of 42,000 and below. If you make revenue or net profit, I should say net profit, let me get it straight, net profit of $42,001 up to 186,000 in net profit, you pay 8% in taxes. And if you make over 186,000, you pay 25% in taxes. Now, the taxes are very important because, as I said, when we have that discussion as to which business to go, which form, you have to take into consideration all of the pros and the cons to decide where you want to go. So this is it for the taxes when it comes to the unincorporated businesses. So persons will look at the unincorporated business and they will say, these are the disadvantages why I don't want to have a sole trader type business. Unlimited liability. They say the liability of those businesses are unlimited. What does that mean? It means that you're the owner, you enjoy all the profits, you enjoy all the revenues, you have enjoy all the control of all the debts, but the liability for as you as an individual does not stay at the business level. It extends to you in your person. So all the debts and obligation of the business, the ABT business, right? The John F. Bakery, whatever type of business you have, and it's a sole proprietorship, if that business owes money, liabilities, owes debts, and cannot pay, then that lender, the persons who or organizations that you're indebted to, can move beyond the business and come and say, look, oh, so you, John, oh, you're the owner of the business. You have some land over yonder. You have a house over there. You have that big SUV. Then those personal assets can be taken to pay the debts of the business. Because remember, we said there is no distinction, there's no legal separation between you, the individual person, and the business. So one of the big disadvantages that persons will harp upon is the unlimited liability of the sole trader. That's a big disadvantage. But I want to just caution persons, when you're making a decision to move or deciding what type of business you want to look at, you have to make sure you compare all oranges with oranges, apples with apples, plums with plums when it comes to unincorporated business and a corporated business. So that is a disadvantage of the unincorporated sole trader type business. Another disadvantage is the ability to raise money. The ability to raise money is usually just the person. You bring what you have. So it could be a challenge relying just on yourself, right? To bring capital into the business for expansion, for growth. However, you can go to a financial institution, because remember we discussed all that, we discussed the 5 C's of credit and so forth. You as the business owner can go and seek capital, loan capital, we call it, debt capital, to assist in the business, to get capital for growth and to do the things that you want to do. But remember, management of debt is so crucial. We haven't done a full session on that. So you see, there's so many things to come in the future. And we're only at the 13th installment of Money and Your Life. Another disadvantage of the sole trader type business is the lack of continuity. If you are the owner, you have all the knowledge, you do everything in the business. Well, if your demise comes, usually that's the end of the business. So you don't have the business continuing unless you decide to bring somebody in, bring in a family member, bring in your son, bring your daughter in, teach them or teach him, teach her the ropes of the business, so you could have continuity in the business. And another big disadvantage is that if you're the only person, then you'll have a big, heavy workload. But remember what Mr. Luke mentioned last week about networking, and I advocate that. I do that in my business, where I network with other professionals, right? So we share a lot of the workload, because you have to, look, you can't, there's so much in this world, you can't get it all. So you have, some people want everything, they want everything. And I say, as the good book says, naked you come, naked you go. So what you have here is for enjoyment for a while. So, after a while, there's no more satisfaction in just hoarding and rushing for everything. Share it, right? So the workload you share, as long as you share the workload, you have to share all of the good things that comes with the workload, the profits, the revenue, etc. So the sole proprietorship, the unincorporated business. Is that the way you want to go? If so, well, those are the pros, the cons, and what you can do to start that business. I also say that you should also, when you're looking to start the business, in addition to the intellectual property, you should go to Social Security and register your business. So you pay your contributions. If you're a sole trader and your loan in the business is 10%. If you have employees and so forth, you still have to pay your 10%, but the business will pay its contribution. The total amount right now for private sector, in the private sector, is 17%. So most of the businesses, the sole trader will be private sector businesses. So it's 17% between the employee and the employer that has to be paid into the Social Security. And you also must register for medical benefit. You go to the medical benefit scheme, you register your business. And the percentage, 3.5%, employer-employee. So 7% overall. You go to the Board of Education and you register to provide the Board of Education with the education levy. And for the first $6,500, you pay nothing for the year. And the employees, and here is just employees pay the education levy. So if you are the sole employee in your sole proprietorship, well, you have to pay the education levy, right? And you pay 2.5% after you would have taken out your $6,500 a year, or when monthly you will divide that by 12, you get the monthly amount, and you reduce that from the amount that you would pay into the Board of Education scheme, right? Now, I say to persons who are getting into business that you have to have a plan. So I didn't start from the business plan and so forth. I just got into business structures. But you have to know what you're doing so that your investment, you don't throw it away. So you have to have a plan. You have to know what you're doing. So here is where we say to persons, right? Plan yourself properly. So if you're putting in $20,000, don't throw away your money. Make sure you do the necessary groundwork, as we say. You do your necessary due diligence so that you will be getting into a profitable business. So that is something pre-actual starting the business, but we're not into that this evening, but I just believe that is something I should mention. So before we take the break, we want to do partnership, and then we do the company afterwards, then we look into some other areas. So we're going to maybe go a couple minutes over break time. We usually break at 7:30, but we're going to go a little bit over so that we can look at partnership. This is another business form that is very similar to the sole proprietorship. So the partnership now involves more than one individual, and the partnership will have two or more persons coming together, putting in their investments. So they'll put in their capital together. They will share in the profits. They will share in the losses of the business. So partnerships also will have two types of partners. So you could be a limited partner, or you could be a general partner. The general partner, and each partnership must have at least one general partner. And I'm going to tell you why they must have that general partner. So let's look at the limited partners first, and then let's say what they do, and then we look at the general partners. The limited partner in a partnership is a person who will come into the partnership Let's say I want persons to come and be a part of personal financial solutions. Where now I say, look, I have a partnership because I want them to invest some money. Tell them, look, they're going to share in the profits and so forth. I have to tell them profits and losses. Well, hopefully it's all profits we make and they share in the profits. So these persons now will come and invest. But they may say, look, the only thing that I want to lose is what I put in. I don't want nobody to come after my house, my land, my bank account, personal bank account, and so forth. So these individuals will come in as limited partner. So they will contribute only the money that their capital. Now, since they're limited partners, they will have no management control. You can't be a limited partner and be up and down dabbling in the business. So you limit yourself to your investment, and you have to have faith in the other persons who will be up and down in the business to make sure they manage the business well, so that you benefit from your profits and your share in the profits. So that is a key distinction when you are a limited partner. However, you can't have all limited partners in a partnership. You must have at least one general partner, and that general partner will be responsible for the day-to-day management of the partnership. And that general partner, his or her personal assets, his or her land, his or her personal bank account, these assets are liable for the debts of the business. So if the business go belly up, right, the creditors of the business can go and sue and recover what they would have, what they're supposed to get from the business from that general partner. So the law stipulates that you can't have all limited partners. Everybody can't be hiding. One person must stand up, and usually is the person who may have started the business as a sole trader and want persons to come in, and so he extend it to partners, and those partners say, well, we are in the limited space and we don't want to extend ourselves, so we want to have what we call limited liability when it comes to the partnership. So let's look at some more advantages of the partnership. Now, because you have more partners, you have more money, more capital coming in from all the partners. So you can expand, you can do things, you can buy tools, you can buy buildings, you can do things in the partnership. And because you have more persons coming in, if you have more than one person being part of the general management and being general partners, you have persons with more expertise coming in to be a part and parcel of the management of the business. So one person could come in with a certain expertise, another person with another expertise, another person with another expertise, and the business can benefit from the expertise of the individuals. And just like the sole proprietorship, a partnership is very easy to start and set up. It's not complex, it's not costly, you don't have a lot of legalese there. Really, what you have to do, and if you're getting into a partnership, and all partners in a partnership, whether the partnership is just starting or is ongoing, right, you have to reduce the agreements that you have to writing. Make sure you have a partnership agreement that tells you the capital structure, the amount of capital the partner is supposed to get, that tells you the amount of sharing the profits of for the partners, that tells you if you're going to get interest on your capital that you put in, tells you how you can withdraw, take drawings from the partnership. So you should have a wholesome partnership agreement where all the partners agree this is how the partnership will function, and you sign off on that. Usually you want a lawyer to look that over to make sure that it's clear, especially persons who don't understand a lot of the legalese, so that nobody feels untoward. So some of the disadvantages quickly of the partnership, as I just mentioned, for the general partner, you'll have unlimited liability. One of the biggest disadvantages is where we say in Antigua, a partnership is a leaky ship, because you always have disagreements. And there is why maybe our people, our culture, we don't have a lot of people coming together and doing things, because I don't know if we in Antigua believe we know everything, and we can't agree. One person always believes they know more than the other person. So you always have that ship getting some leaks, and the whole thing will fall down. So that is a big disadvantage. And again, you may have a disadvantage if you look at it this way. If you are greedy and you want everything for yourself, I don't see this as a disadvantage, but some persons may see it this way, where the profits that you may use to get as a one person, you have to share it now with other persons. And that I say that's only fair, because if they put in their money, if somebody comes with certain expertise, they should be able to benefit just like you. But if you're looking from comparing it with a sole proprietorship, you may say, oh, I'm losing some of the profits I used to make. And just like the sole proprietorship, with a partnership, you may have lack of continuity also if you only have one general partner. But if you have more than one general partner in the partnership, the business inevitably will continue on the demise of one or two of the partners. So we have looked at two business forms so far: business structures, business type, the sole proprietorship, and the partnership. When it comes to taxation for the partnership, it is taxed in Antigua Barbuda under the unincorporated business laws, just like a sole trader, right? And let me just give you the bands with the taxes, and then we take our station break. For the partnership, and it depends upon the number of individuals in the partnership. So if you have two partners, all you do, you just double what is for a sole proprietor. So remember we said for the sole proprietor, you pay no taxes for 0 to 42,000 in net profit. Well, for a partnership of two persons, you pay no taxes 0 to 84,000. It's 42,000 multiplied by two persons. For partnership of three persons, is 0 to 126, the 42 times 3. For partnership of 4, you just do that all the time, right? So if you have 6 persons or 5 persons in the partnership and you make profit in that partnership of 210,000, it means that each person, if you share profits equally, can get their $42,000, right, of the shared profit without any taxes being applied to them. And it will be the same for the different bands. For the 8%, 84,000 to 228 if you have two partners. If you have three partners, 126 to 270. So that's the tax rate. Very simple tax rate for partnerships. So these are things persons must know, must understand, right? As we say, we're just providing some information for financial literacy and education. You want to understand this in more depth, you have to come to Personal Financial Solutions and do a one-on-one or 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 consultation session, so you get advice that is customized to you. We take our station break now. When we come back, we look at the company, and then we look at some other very important aspects of the structure of these businesses, so that you understand where you're going to go when you want to invest your 10,000, 50,000, 20,000, 100,000 to start the second greatest organism created by God for man to strive in this world, the business.
Looking for expert financial guidance? Personal Financial Solutions is here to help. From insurance, accounting,